Hey everyone, I am back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. I hope that you have had a wonderful week. And for those of you, excuse me, thank you for those of you who are joining today. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. As you are watching this right now, I am on an airplane and seeing that I cannot be in two places at once. I keep telling y'all I want a clone for Christmas. I say that every year and no one's ever gotten me a clone yet. So, seeing that I cannot be in two places at once, this is pre-recorded for today, but be sure to stay tuned in. I am going to be continuing our journey through my book, my newest book, Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind, and the Rest Will Follow. And still, let me know where you're tuning in the comments. You guys can share with each other where you're tuning in from. For myself, I do reside in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, but as I mentioned, right now, as you're watching this, I'll be somewhere on a plane in the friendly skies. So anyhow, so if you haven't heard the news already, if you haven't been tuning in the last couple of weeks on Mental Health Moment, we have been going over my newest book, as I mentioned, Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind, and the Rest Will Follow. It is on Amazon, Walmart.com, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, pretty much different online outlets is where you can order it if you would like to. We are actually on chapter 10, you all. Chapter 10 and 11 is what I'm going over today, which we are halfway there. We're actually halfway through the book. And for those of you who may be new to Mental Health Moment, or if you missed the other 9 chapters of the book that we went over the last couple weeks, you can head to Dr. Nekeshia Hammond YouTube, and you can watch the rest of the videos on there. Or if you ever miss a week or whatnot, you can watch it on there. So I'm going to go through highlight chapter 10 and 11 for you all. Some of you may already have the book. First of all, thank you. You guys are so kind. So thank you for those of you who do have the book and you've reached out in some way, shape, or form. I love hearing what you think about the book. And I love the transformation that I've heard from some of you that has been happening in your life. That makes me very, very, very excited for you. So thanks for the kind messages that you've been sending me. That's just, as an author, I love to hear those things. So nonetheless, chapter 10, I can't talk, y'all. Chapter 10 is about mindfulness practices. This part of the book is actually about your emotional self-care. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about with this book, it is about holistic self-care. So it's about how do you take care of yourself emotionally, physically, spiritually, and mentally. And it's divided into those sections. So chapter 10 is about mindfulness practices. And I wanted to remind you in this chapter of the book, we've talked a lot. If you've been tuning into Mental Health Moment for many, many years now, we've talked a lot about mindfulness. And one of the things, I think I've mentioned this a gazillion times on the different podcast interviews that I've been on throughout this podcast tour, this year especially, is how you can take your current routine and add mindfulness in it without adding extra time and extra things you need to do, right? Because sometimes when you hear about mindfulness, you're like, oh my God, I got to add something else into my day. But not necessarily. You could. There's nothing wrong with that. So actually, before I will share, this past weekend, I was at an event with a good friend of mine, and Robin Roberts, who many of you I'm sure have heard of, on Good Morning America, she was there, and it was so fascinating to me because she was talking about how she was at an event. Sorry, let me preface. She was at an event that I was at, a fundraising dinner, and she was getting honored for a Lifetime Achievement Award for what she's done in journalism by the Poynter Institute. So I do want to share that, which was so amazing to witness that because she's just such a phenomenal human being. But what she was saying on stage as I was listening to her talk about mindfulness was she actually takes time, I think she said like twice a day, to meditate, and it might be like 20-25 minutes. And it's funny because she says she'll go, like, she's on set obviously doing her thing for the show, and then she'll go in her dressing room and just people know like during a certain time period, like, okay, don't go in there because that's her time to meditate. Right. And so that is an example though, which I love to hear that, frankly, that everyone even around her knows like, hey, this is my time that I'm taking to meditate. So what I'm saying is you could do that too, like add in your time for meditation or mindfulness. You could. There's nothing wrong with that if you have the time. Or and you can also take parts of your day that you're already doing anyway and adding mindfulness into that without adding extra time that you need or you probably don't have into your schedule. So I'm gonna give you an example. So the example I talk about in the book is actually brushing your teeth, for example. If this is something you do on a daily basis, then during that time period when you really focus in on each step of brushing your teeth, right? Because normally when we're doing something, if we're taking a shower, brushing our teeth, or whatever it is that we're doing, we're thinking about something else. You may be thinking about what happened yesterday. You may be thinking about what happened, you know, 5 weeks ago. You may be thinking about something you need to do on your to-do list instead of really being present in the moment, which is what mindfulness is about. So that is one example that I gave in here. But it could be if you're a person who is driving or washing dishes or whatever things. Again, think about your normal routine. You can pick one or two things out of your day to say, okay, in this moment, I am going to practice my mindfulness. I am going to practice paying attention to each and everything that's happening in that moment. And it could be small amounts of time. It doesn't have to be 20, 25 minutes, an hour. It doesn't have to be that unless you have the time or want it to be that. But it could even be as short as a couple of minutes. That counts too, because again, we're working on retraining your brain, which is why this book is called Mindset Training, because for a lot of us, we have to retrain our brain on some things. So that's just one example of mindfulness that you can use. And the other thing that I talk about in here is actually one of my favorite things. You guys have probably heard it before. For those of you not new to Mental Health Moment, is what I call take a minute. My One of my favorite hashtags is hashtag take a minute. For those of you who are on Instagram, you can always go over to Instagram. Actually, all my social media now, it's all changed by the way. So it's all Dr. Nekeshia Hammond, all social media platforms. So Nekeshia Hammond, all social media platforms. But anyhow, on Instagram, you can go on there if you'd like, if you need a minute. And one of my highlights on the main page is called Take a Minute. And over the past, I don't even know how many years it's been now, 6, 7 years maybe or so, maybe even longer, I've uh, really just snapshot different places in the world, frankly, that I've really taken the time to take a minute. And what I mean by that for me, my take a minute looks like just trying to be in tune with nature, trying to take a minute of calm. We everything's so hectic and busy and chaotic, and we have um so much noise around us, but really just taking 60 seconds to pay attention to what is going on currently right in front of us allows us to reset, recharge, and just really take in the beauty that's around us sometimes. So you can check that out if you haven't already on Instagram. But I talk a little bit about that in this chapter too, of just different examples and different things that you can do when you're trying. Again, this is about mindfulness, taking your brain out of the mode of being sad or anxious or, you know, whatever it is you're thinking about and can't concentrate, all those sorts of things. It's not a cure by any means for anything like that, but it allows your brain to just take a break sometimes because your brain needs a break. So again, that's something that you can try. Um, let's see, and let me see what else. I'm going to save this one. Okay, there's another technique, but I don't want to go too far into chapter 10 because I just want to give you high level highlights. I could probably talk for an hour on chapter 10, but I also want to get to chapter 11. But there is another exercise that I put in here, something that you can do as well. So So let me go to chapter 11 so I don't run out of time here for mental health moment. And for those of you who are just tuning in, welcome, welcome. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Today, I am continuing to go through my newest book, Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind, and the Rest Will Follow. It is on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, Walmart.com, Booksamillion.com, different online book outlets. Um, and we are on right now the second chapter 11. If you missed any of the past mental health moments, you can always go to Dr. Nekeshia Hammond YouTube page and see the rest of the replays over the last couple of weeks with the beginning of this book. But yes, we are officially halfway through the book here. So chapter 11 is about relationships, and I really wanted to remind you in this chapter that this whole mental health wellness journey that every single one of us are on, you really don't have to go through this alone. And what I mean by that is I don't mean you have to necessarily be in a romantic relationship, or maybe you are, but I mean you don't have to go through this alone, because there's over 8 billion people on the planet, and more than likely there's someone out there who can support you in your mission, who, like, wherever that person or group of people may be. So it could be a really good friend, it could be an amazing family member, it could be someone through a support group online or in person, it could be someone at a place of worship, it could be your next door neighbor. Like, support comes in many different forms. But the most important thing that I wanted you to remember from this chapter is to really ask yourself, like, are you getting the support that you need from others around you? And if not, then I really want to encourage you to think about how can you make some changes in your life where you can feel more supported by whomever it is that is surrounding you right now. And again, this chapter by no means says that every single encounter you have with people has to be perfect, or has to be positive, or has to be amazing. Of course not. Like, that's totally unrealistic. But what this chapter is talking about is how you can, if you don't already, find those said groups of people who can be very supportive for you. I will share, and I think I've shared it before on Mental Health Moment, the last 5 or so years, especially, I feel like I have just encountered the most amazing group of people. Like, they're great human beings and who they are, but they've also been so supportive to me. And I'm extremely grateful for that. Extremely grateful. And there's different groups I'm a part of. But just really, really great people, and really, really supportive in different ways. So I promise you, I can't promise, but I strongly believe that they're out there, like, positive people are out there. And please, the other thing I want to say is that not in the book, but I do want to remind you again. I know I've told you I'm mental health moment before, but I'm going to remind you again that just because what you see on the news or what you see in social media, there's a lot of negative things out there. Yes, the world is not perfect. It's far from perfect. It will never be perfect. However, there are great, amazing, supportive people who are in the world, good people who are in the world and can support you on your mental health journey. Strongly believe that. Just saying. So that is what this chapter is essentially about. And the other thing, the last thing I'll say as I, kind of wrap up this chapter here, and again, I'm giving high level chapter, because there's more in this chapter. But the other thing I wanted to remind you of also when it comes to finding people who can support you in this mental health journey of yours is that please don't ever underestimate the power of human connection. I cannot even, it's it's hard to put in words, honestly. And I'm a speaker. But it's hard to put in words how powerful the human connection is. In the past 15, going on 16, I can't believe it, almost 16 years of my career as a psychologist, hearing thousands and thousands of stories from all different people across the globe, frankly, and different walks of life, I have heard story after story after story after story of resilience, which is amazing, and also how other people in these people's lives have like literally turned their lives around. Like it's so cool to see that and to hear that. Whether it was a teacher, whether it was a best friend, whether it was a family member or a coach or a therapist or someone at their place of worship or whomever. I mean, I can't even count how many stories I've heard of people that are like, I mean, lives are being massively changed by other people. Like that's just how powerful it is. That's just how powerful the human connection is. So I want to remind you of that. I personally have had that experience too. As I mentioned, not, I mean, just gosh, I can think of so many great, amazing people, especially over, yeah, the past 5, 6 years or so. Incredible people. So I say that to say that that the group that you need to best support you, I feel they're out there. Um, yeah, and so that's where I'm going to end for today's mental health moment. For chapter 11. So I believe I should be live. I believe I should be live again next week. I know these. I think this is my second week in a row. Yeah, because I had something this last week too. But I believe I will be back live next week for you all, and we'll be going over the next couple chapters. Of course, today was chapter 10 and 11. For those of you just tuning in, you can always catch the replay as I mentioned. But mindset training, conquer your mind, and the rest will follow. Is yes, is available now. It's been available for a little while now, but now through the end of this year, we'll be going through the different chapters of the book, and I just wanted to highlight some of the things in there. Maybe you highlighted on your own, or took some notes if you have the book. If not, it's all good. You can follow along on YouTube. It's all good. The most important thing I want as an author is for people to get this information and for your life to be changed in some way. Like that's a very huge goal in writing these books. So, and I don't know if I guess I could share. You guys will be the first to know. One of the first to know. So the other thing, not to overwhelm you, but the other thing is I will be coming out with another, I guess, sequel, if you will, a part 2 to this book very, very soon. My team and I have been working super duper hard at just getting it all together. So when that is available, I will definitely let you all know. I haven't even officially announced it yet on social media. But I will be, yeah, I'll be announcing that when we can finish that up. But anyhow, so that is coming very, very, very soon. What else do I need to tell you all? I think that is about it for today. You can always follow me on social media at Dr. Nekeshia Hammond, DrNekeshia Hammond. What else? Oh, the website here on the you probably see on the screen, the mindsettrainingbook.com is also the website about the book. So it has more information about the book. And also some bonuses for ordering and that sort of thing is on there. I think what else? I think that's it. I think those are all my announcements. So yeah, so follow along on social. I try my best to be sharing with you all just different things that are uplifting, different ways that you can grow as a person when it comes to your mental health and wellness journey, different ways you can prevent burnout, which is what I talk to organizations and corporations about and have been for a while now. But nonetheless, if you need anything, you can always reach out, and I will be back next week. Have an amazing rest of your week. Be blessed. Take care, and I'll see you all next week. Bye, guys.